am blind. I have a boyfriend who loves me very much, until the day I regained my sight. I saw him having an ambiguous relationship with my attending doctor. They kissed in front of me and commented on my eyes. I cried. He nervously asked me, "What's wrong?" I asked. "If my eyes could never be healed, would you still love me?" He held me tightly. He said he would. I can see now. I've been with Ethan for 8 years. On the first day I regained my sight, I unexpectedly saw this scene. He held me tightly, but was flirting with the attending doctor, and this doctor turned out to be my close friend who has been through thick and thin with me. I pretended to casually ask, "Sophia, how are my eyes now?" I rarely call my close friend by her full name. We've been inseparable since we can remember, so I still can't accept it now. She actually did it behind my back. She has an inappropriate relationship with my boyfriend. She looked at Ethan in a bit of a panic, then turned to look at me. I saw all of this, but my gaze remained calm. "Little Wan, you are recovering well. Maybe you can see the light again." She spoke to me, but her eyes were fixed on Ethan. I pretended to be happy. I reached out to hug Ethan, but I saw them holding hands in front of me. Sophia was even bolder. She directly kissed Ethan's face with a popping sound. "What was that sound?" I asked. Ethan was worried I would notice. He quickly tried to smooth things over. "It was the sound of the chair." "Little Wan, don't be afraid." Sophia glared at her. She pouted a bit in grievance, still saying, "Little Wan, I'll make you braised pork ribs when we go back tonight." "Okay, it's really my own fault. I actually took the initiative to invite Sophia to live with me. I originally thought it would make it easier for my eye treatment, but I didn't expect it to actually bring them together. I don't want to expose them so soon, because I still haven't figured out how I suddenly regained my sight. Additionally, I still can't let go of the memories with Ethan. After returning home, he helped me upstairs and carefully helped me with my eye drops. I held him tightly. Me, who just regained my sight. I hadn't seen his face for a long time. Those days of being unable to see were really hard to endure. If it weren't for Ethan being with me, I really don't know how I would have managed to get through. He sat on the edge of the bed playing on his phone. The chat records with Sophia were just laid out in front of me. There was completely no intention to hide it. I watched the whole process unfold. "Actually, it's nothing much. No one knows that I can see," Sophia said. "Ethan, come pick me up," Ethan said. "Don't kiss me in front of Zaya Owen anymore," Sophia replied. "What's the big deal? It's just an invisible person, all right. Come pick me up. I'll wait for you." Ethan turned off his phone. "Make sure to tuck me in." He said, "I'm going to work. You should get a good sleep." "So that's how it is. Your so-called work is actually going to meet your little lover." I held back my tears. I didn't want him to see my emotions. I said, my voice trembling, "Ethan, it's so dark now. Can you stay and keep me company?" Ethan's expression softened. He understood. "I used to be most afraid of the dark, but now I live in darkness all the time," he said with a hint of worry. "Little Wan, don't be afraid. I'm here." I secretly felt a little happy. It seems Ethan still cares about me. But then my phone rang. I caught a glimpse of a text from Sophia. She said she couldn't wait to see Ethan. Then a photo of a woman in black stockings appeared on his phone. He cleared his throat, quickly put away his phone. He said to me, "There are many things going on at the company. I have to leave first. I will definitely come back to keep you company tonight." After he finished speaking, he let go of my hand. He hurriedly left the door. I cried heartbroken at home, looking through old photos of Ethan and me. I don't know when. A gap has formed between us. By late night, neither of us had returned home. I had no choice but to call Ethan. Unexpectedly, I heard Sophia's laughter on the other end. I tightened my grip on the phone. I quickly asked, "Ethan, are you still working overtime?" "I forgot to tell you. Sophia sprained her ankle. I'll pick her up after work. If you don't believe me, you can talk to her." The phone was handed to Sophia. "Little Wan, are you still not at ease with me? I accidentally sprained my ankle today. I can't walk. We have to go back later. You should sleep first." Her tone didn't sound like she was in pain. Instead, she seemed a bit proud. I vaguely heard the sound of the blanket rubbing and the sound of clothes being torn. My heart suddenly tightened. I quickly hung up the phone. In the evening, I lay in bed tossing and turning, unable to sleep. I picked up my phone to browse. I suddenly found that Sophia had sent me over 20 messages. My fingers trembled slightly. I opened the messages. To my surprise, they were photos of her and Ethan. On average, I receive such a photo every week. They know that I am blind. I can't see. Yet they still deliberately placed the photo in front of me. In the past, he once said that he would only love me in this lifetime. My eyes were filled with tears. Just as I was about to rush out the door, I heard the sound of an engine at the door. They have returned. Ethan and Sophia were passionately kissing at the door. They didn't even notice me standing at the top of the stairs watching them. Bang! With a bang, I turned on the light. They both looked at me in panic. "Little Wan, you're still awake." Ethan was the first to react. He quickly came upstairs and grabbed my hand. My palm was icy cold. A faint scent of perfume wafted from Ethan. "This is Sophia's favorite scent." She walked to the door in high heels. She threw a flirtatious glance at Ethan. I stared straight at her. I asked, "Sophia, didn't you say you sprained your ankle? Why are you still wearing high heels?" I stared at her, not blinking at all, as if silently judging her. She said a bit nervously, Before she could finish speaking, I quickly interrupted, "You need to be more careful. Ethan has to pick you up after working so late. I've been quite worried about you too. I don't want to embarrass her in person. This subtle tension should keep her quiet for a while. It would be best if she could leave on her own." Ethan and I entered the room together. He looked very upset. He started yelling at me as soon as he opened his mouth. "Emily, what do you mean by that? Don't you trust me?" I pretended to reach out to touch his face, but he suddenly swatted my hand away. "Why are you questioning Sophia? Do you have any complaints about me picking her up? Just say whatever you want to me directly." I looked at his face, with tears in my eyes. The eyes that usually lack vitality now showed some fluctuation. "Ethan, how could you think that way? I'm just concerned about both of you. How could you misunderstand me? I'm blind. You still want to marry me, and still like me so much. How could I?" As I spoke, my heart felt heavier. The images from those photos kept flashing in my mind, along with the wonderful times I spent with Ethan. I've been blind for 8 years. He has been by my side all these years. How could I just let go? I really love this man in front of me, but he always makes me doubt my choices. Maybe I should break up with him. Hearing me say these words with a choked voice, Ethan's heart softened. He sighed and hugged me, talking nonstop. "I'm sorry, little Wan. I shouldn't have misunderstood you. Don't cry anymore. Your eyes will hurt. Although we sleep in the same bed, we are no longer the couple we used to be." The next day, I mentioned wanting to eat braised pork ribs. I specifically asked for Sophia to cook. She didn't seem very happy, but Ethan didn't voice any opinions. She had no choice but to quietly go into the kitchen. In less than 2 minutes, the sound of a knife falling to the floor suddenly came from the kitchen. Sophia shouted. I hadn't reacted yet. Ethan had already run over quickly. He gently held Sophia's fingers, but his eyes were fiercely glaring at me. "Emily, what's wrong with you? If you want to eat something, why not make it yourself? Why do you have to make Sophia help? Look, her hand is injured." "Really? Since yesterday, you've been targeting Sophia." I said, "Can't you be less petty? Sophia's hands are meant to show others her eyes. What about you? I can only stay at home. I can't do anything. My heart feels like it's being slowly cut by a dull knife. Sharp pains come and go." Sophia is nestled in Ethan's arms. She sobs weakly. "Ethan, brother, don't blame Emily anymore. It's all my fault, Emily. I'm sorry, I can't make you braised spare ribs today." Ethan huffed impatiently. "Why are you still worrying about her? I don't believe it. Without the two of us, she can still starve herself. Let's go." I didn't say a word. Suddenly, I heard the door slam shut. I couldn't help but squat down and cry. When they came back at night, they saw me sitting in the living room watching TV. Ethan stood in front of me, a bit surprised. He was clear, because of the eye issue. "I usually don't watch TV." He stared at my calm face, cleared his throat, then asked, "Emily, have you eaten? If not, let's go buy something together. I've already eaten." I interrupted him directly. He was taken aback for a moment. This isn't like the old me. If it were before, I would have called him long ago, begging him for forgiveness in tears. But today, I was surprisingly calm. "If there's nothing else, I'll go upstairs." I slowly felt my way upstairs. Ethan wanted to come over to help me when he saw, but I dodged him. He said with a puzzled expression, "That's really strange. Emily isn't usually like this. Could it be that she's really sad this time?" A week later, Sophia was preparing to check my eyes, but I made an excuse to prevent her from checking. "Sophia, I can already sense a bit of light with my eyes. Am I recovering quickly?" Ethan paused his actions in the living room. He stared straight at me. Sophia exclaimed in surprise. She hurriedly asked me, "Is it true? When can I see? How much can I see?" Ethan exchanged a glance with her. He communicated with his eyes to tell her not to be nervous. Then he turned back around. He pretended to speak with deep emotion. "That's great, Emily. I'm really happy." His face clearly showed resentment, as if he wanted to dig my eyes out. My vision recovery probably hindered them from being openly together. I told them, "This morning when I woke up, I found I could see a little light, but it's still very blurry." Only after hearing this did Sophia breathe a sigh of relief. The two deliberately avoided each other for a while. After several tests, they found that I was indeed not lying, so they resumed their close relationship. However, since discovering that I had improved, Ethan's attitude towards me has become increasingly worse. He often says to me, "Emily, can you learn a thing or two from Sophia? Weren't you good friends? Why is there such a big difference in personality?" Ethan pointed at me and shouted, just because I didn't let Ethan kiss me. Thinking of those photos, I suddenly felt nauseous. My expression immediately changed. I couldn't help but ask him, "Have you kissed her?" Ethan was silent for a moment. Then he shouted angrily, "Are you out of your mind?" He listened to what I said. Although he was very unhappy, he still scolded me, but he did not refute what I said. He didn't look too good. He said, "Can you not take this so seriously? What happened to you?" I saw that I got no response. His mood worsened. At this moment, Sophia came over to mediate. "Don't let me cause any rift between you." She turned to me. "Emily, Ethan didn't mean it that way." She said to Ethan again, "You really are something. Why compare me to Emily?" Ethan sighed. "Emily, when you couldn't see, I took care of you a lot. Now that you can see a little, are you going to push me away?" I let out a cold laugh. Ethan looked at me in surprise. If it were in the past, I would definitely apologize to him and promise to obediently listen to him. I can see now. I can clearly see everything they do. I suddenly realized I no longer care. The intimate actions they display in front of me. Surprisingly, I can also turn a blind eye. Acting as if nothing happened, I said to Ethan, "We've known each other since high school. We started dating in college, and it's been like that until now. We're almost getting married, when I had just gone blind. I once had a hard time coping. I tried to commit suicide. That day at 3 in the morning, I couldn't get a taxi. It was you who carried me to the hospital overnight. After the doctor said I was fine, I felt you holding me and crying. You once said you would be my eyes when everyone was laughing at my blindness. You were the only one standing in front of me, protecting me. You never said a word to make me sad. You said, even if my eyes never get better, you would always love me." After I finished this sentence, Ethan was clearly moved. He let go of Sophia, turned around and hugged me, and said to me, "Emily, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that about you. Maybe I've been too busy with work lately. Don't be angry." Sophia glared at me. Her eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. I smiled. I gestured to her. I think she understood. Sophia exclaimed in surprise. She. Just as Ethan was about to turn around, I pretended to accidentally fall. I landed in his arms. "What's wrong, Ethan?" "I'm so scared." Ethan shot a glare at Sophia. I secretly laughed. Sophia seemed worried that she misread the situation. She suggested going to the art exhibition and said she would take me along. She thought that being exposed to the outside world would help me recover. Ethan didn't think much of it. He quickly booked 3 tickets. There weren't many people at the exhibition. The place wasn't big. Ethan got separated from us as he wandered around. Sophia pulled me to walk alone with her. She didn't give me a chance to refuse. She leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Emily, you actually understood everything a long time ago, right? You know it clearly in your heart, don't you? I want you to see it with your own eyes. Who Ethan truly loves in his heart." I didn't understand her intentions. I could only follow her to a secluded corner. There are hardly any people passing by here. I was wondering what she was going to do. She suddenly pressed my neck and forcefully slammed my head against the wall. I had no time to react. Suddenly, there was a bang. With a bang, I felt my vision gradually blur. Warm liquid was flowing down my forehead. Then there was another bang. With a bang, my head hit the wall heavily. The picture frame nearby was stained with blood. She sneered coldly. Her expression was twisted. "Emily, do you think I'm weak and easy to bully? I'll say it plainly. Ethan is mine. No one can take him away." In the next second, I saw Sophia with her eyes tightly closed. Suddenly, she slammed her forehead against the sharp corner of the frame. That spot was very sharp. Just once, blood gushed out. She took out her phone, put it to her ear, and said, "Ethan, come save me quickly. Emily. Emily has gone crazy." Blood flowed into my eyes, causing a stinging sensation. After Ethan arrived, he quickly ran towards Sophia. Sophia, wake up quickly. What's wrong with you? Speak up." Ethan's voice sounded very anxious. He clearly saw me sitting in the corner with my eyes covered, but he immediately ran towards Sophia. He hurriedly dialed 120, picked up Sophia, completely unaware of me. He might still think I can't see anything. This also made me see my position in his heart clearly. What a spectacular scene. I'm completely disheartened. I closed my eyes. The doctor wrapped several layers of gauze around my forehead. I walked out of the operating room. I saw Ethan waiting anxiously at the door. Only then did he notice me. He quickly walked up to me. "Emily, Sophia said you pushed her." "You," I suddenly laughed out loud. I laughed so hard that tears streamed down my face. "Fool," I said. Ethan looked a bit pale. He casually grabbed a doctor and asked, "Doctor, please check her quickly. She can't see. Is there any issue from hitting her head? I think she might not be mentally stable." The doctor took out a small flashlight and looked. He looked at Ethan in confusion. He said, "What are you talking about? Her eyes are not blind. Her vision is probably even better than most people's." What? Ethan's forehead was bulging with veins. He looked a bit flustered as he stared at me, small. "Emily, can you really see it?" I responded calmly. I had seen it clearly a long time ago. Why didn't you tell me?" Ethan nervously grabbed my shoulders, shaking me continuously. I saw his anxious expression. Those who don't know would think he cares about me a lot. "I should have told you earlier. Can I still see you being close with my best friend? I don't want to miss this scene." He stepped back a few paces. His face showed a look of surprise. He said softly, "You know everything. You knew it all along. Then let's break up. You two leave my house right now." After a long while, Ethan's legs went weak. He knelt on the ground. He felt all his strength drained by the emotions. His face showed a look of confusion and despair. He said softly, "Let's not break up. Is that okay?" I let out a cold laugh. I looked down at him and asked, "What's wrong? You can't be with two women at the same time. Does that make you uncomfortable? Or should I say, you actually quite like this feeling?" He seemed helpless in the face of my series of questions. He looked very helpless. He answered softly, "It's not like that, Emily. It's really not. We've been together for almost 10 years. We're about to get married. Isn't that right? It's different now. By the way, do you know why my eyes suddenly can't see?" I said casually, "It's Sophia's doing. You and her are actually the same kind of person." He first shook his head in disbelief. "Say it. It's impossible. How could she do this?" "Sophia said that you pushed her," I said with a bitter smile. "Ethan, I really don't understand how I ended up with you. How long have you been betraying me? I didn't even know. And now you can so casually speak up for her. You really have no heart." Maybe that sentence was too much for him to bear. I saw his legs give out. He sat directly on the ground. He was too sad. His whole body was trembling. He bit his fist with his teeth. He even drew blood. His tears streamed down his face. He hugged my leg, continuously apologizing. But I no longer cared. I said to him, "Let's go." I said one sentence and turned to leave the hospital. The sun was shining brightly. My mood brightened as well. I quickly called my parents to tell them the good news about my eye recovery. They were particularly excited. "To put it simply, this is a double blessing." I casually interjected, "Right. Ethan and I are no longer getting married. If you have a suitable blind date, remember to let me know." After returning home, I quickly contacted the moving company, threw all their things into the trash can, looking at the empty room. I felt relaxed for the first time. That night, my phone kept ringing. "Emily, hurry and open the door." It was Ethan knocking. A faint female voice came through the phone. "Emily, it's late at night. Where are we supposed to stay? Why did you throw away our things? Hurry and open the door. I won't let you off. Your threat really makes me laugh." "What? Ethan doesn't have money to take you to a hotel. Right, if you still want anything. Your belongings are in the trash can at my door. Go translate it yourself." That's all I have to say. He hung up the phone. I suddenly felt much more at ease. Ethan actually relies quite a bit on others. I can't work after going blind. I have to let him temporarily take my position. To put it simply, he's just using my name, taking my salary. In reality, he hasn't done anything substantial. But what does this have to do with me? I'm just about to go to sleep. Ethan called again. "Emily, can we talk on the phone?" Ethan's voice sounded a bit weak. It seems that what happened today really hit him hard. "You go ahead." "Emily, can you really bear to let go of everything between us? Do you remember every moment we had together? Do you remember how I cared for you? And the promises we made?" "Emily, I really don't want to break up." I sighed. Those beautiful memories. Now only I remember them. "Ethan, when you see me and Sophia lying together at the art exhibition, What you're thinking about is Sophia's injury, or my eyes. The person on the other end of the phone was momentarily speechless, unable to say a word. I took the opportunity to hang up the phone. Days later, I removed the bandage from my head. A long scar was left on my forehead. It looks a bit scary. I had to cover it with my hair. I resumed my daily life, although work was a bit awkward. I made up for it with hard work. I often worked late alone at the office. The new assistant is named Liam. He's a steady guy who just graduated. He often helps me out. He works efficiently, responsible and serious, and especially attentive. I'm tired. He would promptly bring coffee or prepared meals. Sister. You might consider that Liam always calls me sister. I actually quite like him calling me that. One night, the phone suddenly rang. It showed an unknown number on the other end of the line said, "Hello, is this Miss Emily? Your boyfriend needs immediate surgery due to a stomach perforation. He is currently at the Third People's Hospital. We cannot reach any other family members. Please come as soon as possible." I was a bit surprised. Ethan's family situation is quite complicated. The doctor must have really had no other choice but to call me. I drove over in the middle of the night, finally signed the papers for him to have surgery. The doctor said it was due to excessive drinking, which led to the stomach perforation. He also reminded me to often tell him to drink less. I know that saying more is useless. I had no choice but to call Sophia. 1 hour later, Sophia hurriedly arrived. Even this late, she was dressed neatly. I looked at her appearance. I suddenly find it a bit funny. "Sophia, I need to put on makeup before going to the hospital. Are you not worried about Ethan, Sophia?" Listen to what I said. Her expression immediately became unnatural. She clearly didn't expect me to expose her so quickly. Not a moment of hesitation. She asked in surprise, "Emily, how come you knew this news earlier than I did?" I shrugged my shoulders. His note for me was girlfriend. Who do you think the doctor would contact first? You, don't overthink it. You two make me uncomfortable. I called you here just to avoid the doctor bothering me again. Emily, do you think I'm ugly? Then why don't you take a look at the scar on your face? Sophia lost control and shouted in the hospital. That's what I call disgusting. Her voice was loud. It drew the dissatisfaction of many people around. I was already quite angry. Hearing this made me even more unable to hold back. I directly rushed up and slapped her. She fell to the ground from my slap. I questioned her. "Who caused the scar on my face, Sophia? You know it best in your heart. You better hope I don't hold a grudge. Otherwise, I will definitely use a dull knife to scar your face." She was frightened by my words. She involuntarily shrank back to the corner. I was about to leave. Suddenly, I heard a low sob from the corner. "Emily, it's been like this since childhood. You have everything, good grades and beauty. Even your boyfriend is so outstanding. And what about me? I have always felt inferior to you, always being overshadowed by you. But you go around saying I'm your best friend. You know how insecure I feel. You just want to steal my spotlight. You never regarded me as a friend. Later, you went blind. You have no idea how happy I was. Finally, it's my turn to enjoy the attention of others. Why can't you always be invisible?" I'm staring at her. I couldn't help but ask, "Did you add something to my eye drops?" Sophia was taken aback for a moment. Then she laughed and cried, "You know, ha ha ha, you actually found out. That's right, it was me. I just can't stand you. I really didn't expect you to recover. Emily, you are really disappointing." She criticized my mistakes while crying, while shedding tears. I really admire how she can put things this way. I just feel that all these years of sincerity have been wasted. I ignored her curses. Just as I was about to leave, I saw Ethan being pushed out of the operating room. The doctor said that those who need to sign should stay to look after him. I couldn't leave for a moment. I could only sit there and wait for him to wake up. Fortunately, the effects of the anesthesia wore off quickly. Ethan saw me sitting next to him. He immediately broke into a big smile. He completely ignored the carefully dressed Sophia. He said, "Emily, I knew you would come to take care of me. You still can't let go of me." When I heard this, I felt a wave of nausea. How can there be such a shameless person? Ethan held my hand. He kept saying words to persuade me to stay. "Emily, it was all my fault in the past. I promise I will never leave you again. Please don't break up with me." Okay, even someone who was once so outstanding is now begging for my forgiveness. I pulled my hand back. I said coldly, "Remember to change the notes in your contacts. Don't disturb me again in the future." Ethan's throat suddenly choked up. The corners of his mouth twitched involuntarily. His lips also began to tremble. He let out a few sobs from his throat. He could no longer control his tears. It flowed down his cheek and onto the pillow. You used to. You never used to say this to me before. Emily, do you really not like me anymore? I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. Give me a chance to change. Okay, Emily, you can't do this. You can't not let me make mistakes. You can't just push me away completely all at once and never talk to me again. I don't want to break up. I absolutely will not break up. He kept coughing. His face was covered in tears and snot. He was still mumbling something indistinctly. I looked at him. All I felt was helplessness. Sophia stood by, listening quietly. Her beautiful face was originally very calm, but gradually showed a hint of fluctuation. She said softly, "Brother Ethan, why did you drink so much?" Ethan glanced at me. He said slowly, "After the breakup, I often reminisce about our past times. I remember Emily would accompany me to watch movies and play games. She would also make me hangover soup when I was drunk. Maybe this time when I'm drunk, Emily will appear by my side like before." As he spoke, he suddenly started to cry. "But now everything has changed. No matter how much I drink, you will no longer appear by my side." Perhaps Ethan never truly had feelings for Sophia. It was just a momentary novelty. Being with someone invisible feels meaningless. "Ethan, I won't choose to be with someone who betrays me. Once a man cheats, he is likely to make the same mistake again. What good are these pretty words now? You hurt your own body. Does that make my heart soften? Ethan, you misunderstood. I truly cherish the opportunity to see the light again. This allows me to see clearly everyone around me." His gaze briefly fell on Sophia's face. After lingering for a second, he looked away, as if she were a stranger. I walked to the door of the ward. I took a look around. He said coldly, "Sophia, the scar on your face and your eyes. I haven't settled the score with you yet." Upon hearing my words, Sophia trembled. Her face instantly turned pale. Even her foundation couldn't hide her panic. A week later, I received the surveillance footage from the art exhibition as agreed. I made 2 copies of the footage. One was sent to the police. The other was sent to Ethan. But what I didn't expect was, when I received a call from the police again, I learned that Sophia had already passed away. I went to the police station. Ethan's hands were covered in blood. He sat on the ground, expressionless. He wore heavy handcuffs on his wrists. "Don't move around. Stay still." Ethan was too scared to move because of the police. His face was pale. His eyes were sunken. He looked unrecognizably thin, but when he looked at me, his eyes sparkled. I was momentarily stunned. The police told me. The hotel staff called the police. They found this case related to me, so they called me in to give a statement. This case is very simple. Ethan committed murder. He is estimated to spend 20 years in prison. He won't get out. I finished the statement and was about to leave. Suddenly, I heard Ethan shout loudly, "Emily, Emily, look, I dealt with the person who harmed you. Are you happy, Emily? We won't break up. Is that okay? I'm begging you." Ethan was kneeling on the ground. His hands hung weakly. The blood stains on his hands had already dried. His complexion is yellow. He's so thin that he looks unrecognizable. He looks like he's about to collapse. I really didn't expect this. I almost married someone like him. He keeps begging me, but his behavior scares me. He's nothing like the confident boy he used to be. I almost ran away. I didn't even dare to look at him again. Time passes quickly. It's been 2 years since my vision recovered, and Ethan was sentenced to 20 years. That day, I received a phone call. It told me I could visit Ethan next month. He wants to see me. I thought about it for a while. In the end, I decided to meet him. When I saw Ethan again, he was wearing an orange prison uniform. He walked a bit unsteadily. It seems like his time in prison hasn't been easy. "Emily, I miss you so much. What about you? Do you miss me?" I think Ethan might have been mentally unstable for a long time. He suddenly pressed his face against the glass. It startled me. "What's on your finger? What is that?" he asked. He almost shouted it out. I smiled and showed the ring on my ring finger. "Say it, I'm married." "Emily, how could you do this, Emily? Why didn't you wait for me? I did all of this for you. It was all for you," he cried out. The voice was loud, like a child who didn't get candy. "This is our last meeting, Ethan. Do you have anything else to say?" He stared blankly at the ring. After a long while, he finally shifted his gaze to my face. He stammered, "Wishing you a happy marriage. Thank you, just a simple thank you, not just for his blessing. It might also be to thank him for teaching Sophia a lesson on my behalf. I originally just wanted her to stay in prison. I didn't expect Ethan to deal with her directly. Facing a former lover, he actually could be ruthless." I pushed open the prison gate. My husband was waiting for me at the door, like a diligent bodyguard. I smiled and walked towards him. I gave him a kiss. Only then did he breathe a sigh of relief. He said, "Big sister, you've been inside for so long. I don't want you to see your ex-boyfriend." I know he was pretending to be pitiful on purpose. He wanted to make me feel sorry for him. I couldn't help but laugh. I patted his head and said, "I promise I won't see him again. Let's go home." He walked into the room. He saw a letter on the table. He picked up the letter. He carefully looked at the handwriting on the envelope. He realized it was her handwriting. He hesitated for a moment, but he still opened the envelope. The letter said, "I know you've been very busy lately, but I hope you can take some time to come back and see us. We all miss you quite a bit." He finished reading the letter. His feelings were a bit complicated. He put down the letter. He walked to the window, looking at the scenery outside, thinking about how to reply to her.